Hey guys, welcome back. So let's go ahead and jump into our video for today. So we're going to be talking about, I know, your favorite subject, which has to do with ICE in Chicago. This is from CBS Chicago. Illinois Chicago awaits ruling on lawsuit over National Guard deployment. So let's go ahead and just jump right in.
Hey, Joe, it's been hours of back and forth. We're now on a break and we'll be heading back into the courtroom shortly. But there have been many questions that this judge today has had about what specifically National Guard troops would be doing should they be on the streets of the city of Chicago, noting that the open-ended nature of the president's order has cause for concern. She was asking questions like, what would they be doing? Would they be limited to protecting ICE? An attorney for the federal government said probably. She asked if they might go into neighborhoods, hospitals, and schools. The attorney said there is a vetting process, but did not describe it. Could they help in any federal agency? The attorney answered, I actually don't know the answer to that. And the big question, would they solve crime in Chicago? The judge asked. The attorney responded, certainly to an extent. The mission, again, he said, is a federal protection one. Now, we do know that members of the Texas National Guard have already made their way to the Broadview ICE processing facility ahead of today's hearing, where protesters and federal agents have been known to clash for weeks. Though in the state's opening argument, they mentioned internal communications from the person in charge at Broadview, saying, quote, they had the situation under control. Now, the defense countered to that, saying dozens of officers have been injured, and plaintiffs, they said, don't make any valid showing of irreparable harm. Now, President Trump spoke about Chicago earlier today, and Mayor Brandon Johnson reacted here in this courthouse earlier.
I want to thank the governor of Texas, who has been, as usual, great. Governor Abbott, he gave us 400 troops without even a question. And we have other governors likewise doing what has to be done.
We said that this deployment had nothing to do with public safety. We said that this has nothing to do with immigration. This is purely political.
Now, it's not clear if we are going to have that decision by the end of the day today. We'll keep you posted on that. We're going to head back upstairs in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, we do expect to see some members of the National Guard outside of the Dirksen Federal Building, possibly tomorrow. It is also possible that this judge could put a stop to that before it happens. As we mentioned, we'll keep you posted. Live at the Dirksen Federal Building, Sabrina Franza, CBS News.
All right, so you guys seen that. I know the judge is asking some crazy questions. Like, for example, why do we need, the troops there? Like, is it really bad? And it's like, honestly, I think what Trump's people should do is bring in all the evidence that they have in regards to the footage of all the threats that ICE has gotten from, the fact that they had Marimad chick and that dude, hunt down the ICE and ram them, and then the chick had a gun on her. And then you also have the Latin King gangbanger who put out a hit on ICE, the ICE chief. So, there is a lot of stuff going on. And then that's not even including if you go to social media, so like TikTok or X or Facebook, and you're seeing a lot of these crazy left-wingers posting, how someone needs to go and murk ICE, or just flat out saying that they're going to go themselves. So that's all evidence showing how crazy all these people are and how they really need to double and triple down when it comes to having the troops there. You also had the thing that happened at the church for the Supreme Court when they were having the mass before they return, and they had a guy that was there with like 200 plus explosives. So you have all these different crazy violent things. You that's not even including what's going on in Portland, where over 100 days they were rioting. And I'm not going to use protest because that's not what they're doing. They're straight up just causing mayhem and violence, and they don't care. So I personally think they should just take that evidence and show that as proof, because that's actually proof of what's going on. And instead of, capitulating to these lies that, the Democrats like to spew and, their mouthpiece like to push for them, that, oh, nothing's happening. They're just, that's just one incident. And it's like, that's not true. But let's go ahead and jump into this next video where We're doubling down. Kristi Noem vows to send more troops to Chicago as ICE protest continues. This is from from Forbes. I told you guys, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. Sometimes, I talk way too fast and I get a little tongue tied, but it is what it is. Am I right?
They're proud of our country again. Kristi, go ahead, please.
Well, sir, thank you for your leadership and for deploying all of government to help us keep our country safe. You have talked extensively about how threatened our ICE officers are, but all of our law enforcement out there. And we saw the shooting in Dallas at that facility, so we're hardening all of our buildings and making.
See, and I almost forgot about that one. The shooting at the Dallas, ICE facility, the guy literally said that he was trying to, like pew pew at, ICE, and he accidentally hit, like the illegals. And the people that were trying to save the illegals, it wasn't the left people. It wasn't the people that were trying to murk ICE. It was ICE that was protecting the illegals. So that should tell you a lot about, are you the baddies? You can go ahead and look at that real quick little clip.
Hands. Are we the baddies?
Because it's just funny. But that's who the left are. But let's keep going.
Making sure that we have more security measures, snipers on the roof, people to protect our law enforcement while they're out there on the streets. But what I'm also doing, sir, is, and with your authority, is we're purchasing more buildings in Chicago to operate out of. We're going to not back off. In fact, we're doubling down, and we're going to be in more parts of Chicago in response to the people there. And then I was there a few days ago and looked at some facilities that we can deploy more law enforcement out of, because what they're trying to do with these riots and violence is distract us and keep us from going after those murderers and rapists that are out on the streets. And then I was in Portland, went out and back on Tuesday and met with the governor, met with the mayor, met with the chief of police and the superintendent of the highway patrol. They are all lying and disingenuous and dishonest people, because as soon as you leave the room, then they make the exact opposite response. So we're looking at new facilities to purchase. They're in Portland too, and we're going to double down. And I told them if they didn't meet our demands for safety and security on the streets and work with us, then we were going to bring in more federal law enforcement. So I want to thank Pete and the Department of War for all their help. They've been fantastic. But while we fight litigation and work with Pam on that, we're going to send more of our resources and men and women out there to keep everybody safe. So no worries. What we see in DC and what we see in Memphis for benefits for people in the safety and security, we'll see that in Chicago and Portland.
And the numbers in Memphis, it's only a week, but the numbers have been amazing, I understand.
That's exactly right.
The crime numbers are way down.
Fantastic, and it shows what a partnership can be between local law enforcement and the federal government. And if we have to do it the hard way in Portland and Chicago, we will. But the people demand the safety.
My lawyers are in court right now as we speak for you, arguing in Chicago and Portland to keep them safe, to bring in the guard. The government doesn't want it there, but we do. We're going to keep their citizens safe thanks to you.
The people want it. I don't understand the politics of it. I don't know.
The people of Chicago want it. You saw from the videos that I showed you. And if you didn't, go to the first video. It'll be on the screen. But you saw that, and if you didn't, well, go watch it. It's basically saying how a lot of the people from Chicago were saying to Mayor Johnson that they want Trump to come in. They want the troops to come in. They want ICE to come in, and they want them to clean house. They are so sick and tired of all this and, having to pay outrageous taxes to pay for illegals. And I don't blame them. I mean, Chicago, honestly, I hate visiting Chicago because it's not only like grimy and stinky, but it's also like, when you go there, you're paying taxes on everything. You pay taxes on entertainment, you pay taxes on streaming, you pay taxes upon taxes, and taxes on sugar and on soda and on bags, and left and right, they're nickel-diming you, man, because they're trying to find any way of getting money. And now they're even going as far back as, because like my mom's had told me, like, when we were in Texas, how she got a letter from Chicago because it's how broke they are. And for all y'all people who used to live in Chicago, keep an eye out, because she had gotten a letter from Chicago trying to get her to pay, because, you know, she was a single mom, trying to get her to pay for SNAP benefits that she qualified for way back in the day. We're talking about like in the 80s, bro, like 80s or like maybe late 70s, where she was, you know, getting benefits to help her because she was a single mom. And now they're like trying to charge her all kinds of crazy money so they can get money because Chicago is broke. And people of Chicago don't want to keep having to pay for illegals. Like, and remember, these are the same people that say that illegals contribute to our economy, which obviously they don't, because we're actually paying way more money to cover them than they are putting in. So let's keep going.
I understand why Pritzker is trying to protect people that are.
They're more scared
really
of the anarchists that are on the street
Yep,
and the politics of
100%.
it than they are of doing the right thing.
I think they're afraid.
Yeah, they are. They're scared.
Threatened. They don't tell us, but I think Pritzker's threatened by people because there's no other reason that
If Pritzker or, you know, Brandon Johnson are scared, that could be a possible reason. Or it can also be like, we already know this about Brandon Johnson. He's more like a socialist, Marxist kind of guy. But it can also be that those guys that are going out there doing this chaos are basically doing it for them. So, you know, because Pritzker and Johnson can't, outright go out and do anything themselves. So they kind of do this, where we don't see anything. We don't see the criminals doing bad things, you know, even though they know they're doing it. And they do see it. They just choose to ignore it and say that it's not happening, so that it gives them free reign to continue to do that without them getting their hands dirty. You know what I'm saying? They think they got us like mind, you know, bent. Like we don't see what they're trying to do, but we do, you know?
this could be possible, that they don't want to have a safe Chicago. And we can solve the problem very quickly. And we're doing that anyway, regardless of if he doesn't want it or if he does want it, we're doing it anyway. So make sure.
I asked the mayor that himself. He said that Portland was perfectly safe, a beautiful city, no problems. And I said, well, why did you clear the streets for me today then and build out a 4-block radius to make sure I could get in and out of here? And these people on the street screaming death to ICE. There's graffiti that says Molotovs melt ice. We have the guillotines. We're going to use them.
Portland's almost different. It's like anarchists.
It is. It really is.
You know, it's really different than a lot
It's
of the
awful.
others. This is a sick situation, but those are anarchists. Those are.
Yep. And he's absolutely right. These are just people, and I'm so glad that he designated them a terrorist group for Antifa, because, you know, remember when Biden and them were all in office, they kept just saying, like, Antifa's just an idea. It's a thought. It's not a real thing. It's not an entity. But we all know, we've all seen the videos, the George Floyd riots. We've seen, you know, the Summer of Love 2.0. We've seen the Chat is Chop. We know for a fact that Antifa exists. You see them over there in Chicago, in Portland, in Los Angeles right now with the ICE thing. So they're not an idea. It's not a thought. It's a real thing, and they're putting real people in danger, because it's the innocent people that are going to get hurt. It's not the people that they're intending to hurt. It's going to be the innocent people, the bystanders, that are going to get hurt because of them and their stupid rhetoric. So I'm so thankful that Trump went ahead and, you know, dubbed them a terrorist organization. So good on him for that one. So this is the last video I want to show you guys in regards to the National Guard troops arrive at ICE facility in Broadview amid legal battle. This is from CBS Chicago. So we'll go ahead and watch this last video and then get your thoughts or see what's going on here.
Now at 4:30, we continue to watch breaking news as we await a federal judge's decision on the deployment of National Guard troops here in Illinois. 500 troops have been activated, and a few dozen have already been spotted at the Broadview ICE facility. That's where our Marissa Perlman is live with developments. Hello, Marissa.
Joe, good to be with you. Yeah, we have just learned 20 National Guard members are now officially stationed here in Broadview. Sources also telling us this afternoon that the California National Guard are here in Chicago helping with pre-mission training after having served in California over the summer. Now, for much of the day, it has been really more press than protesters here on the scene in Broadview, but many of them have been awaiting that court decision to see whether the National Guard is here to stay.
I hope so.
The National Guard is here. On their first full day on duty, federal troops were seen walking along the perimeter of the temporary fence. But it's been clashes with protesters that's prompted the state of Illinois to file a lawsuit to prevent the deployment of federal troops, accusing the president of manufacturing a crisis.
We're restoring law and order in our country.
500 National Guard members were activated in Chicago overnight to guard this immigration detention center and other federal buildings that have been targeted by protesters for weeks. They'll be mobilized initially for 60 days. Of those 500, 300 are from Illinois and 200 are from Texas. CBS Skywatch capturing several dozen National Guard members at the Army Reserve Center in Elwood, just southwest of Chicago. Those troops seen packing black bags and going in and out of trailers there. Local and state leaders making their opinion on this federal presence known.
We don't need that here. We didn't ask for it. The governor didn't ask for it. The mayor of Chicago didn't ask for it. And most certainly, I'm not asking for them.
That's Village of Broadview Mayor Katrina Thompson. Her office confirming overnight 3 vans with 45 Texas National Guard members arrived late last night to Broadview. The village releasing this
You guys need to vote these people out. I'm just saying. Because these people, they don't care what happens to the average American citizen. Because they're not the ones in harm's way. All right? This goes back to the thing I was telling you guys about how, notice, all the illegals, they don't live in the rica areas. All right? And for y'all don't understand that, that means the rich areas. You don't see them in Boys Town. You don't see them in Bucktown. You don't see them in the rich suburbs. You know, you only see them in specific areas where crime is really high and out of control, or where minority groups live. So of course these people don't care. They honestly don't, because they have their own security 24/7, my bad. You know, they have always protection. They have probably like gates around their homes. They lock them doors. You know, if they really felt that their area was super, super safe, they wouldn't walk around with security and they wouldn't lock their doors. But they do, don't they? That should tell you something.
Statement with the hashtag Tired Texans, saying Broadview police spotted the vans near the facility and found the guards inside sleeping. It says, in part, we hope that they will extend the same courtesy in the coming days to Broadview residents who deserve a good night's sleep too. Mayor Thompson says her first priority is the community living around the ICE facility.
The reality of it is that we have a lot of people showing up that don't live here. And the residents are getting tired. And I am too.
Attorney General Pam Bondi and the president have both defended the decision to federalize the National Guard, in part saying they're working to keep the federal officers who work here safe. For now, we're live in Broadview. I'm Marissa.
So you seen that, you heard that. And what's funny is her last comment. I loved it. Even though I know she probably meant it another way, but I'm going to kind of run with it. So she was saying how a lot of those people are not from here. She's absolutely 100% right. Most of those protesters are not from here. And I have said this in a previous video because Chicagoans, we have sort of a certain type of language that we talk, okay? So just like, you know, Cali people and people from New York, you know, from the Bronx, they have a certain way they speak. And y'all know you're from Chicago and Texas is another one, because, you know, I visited my mom's in Texas, and, you know, definitely the way they talk is completely different than the way Chicagoans talk. But they have a different dialect. So in one of the lives that I was watching, the person, you know, I can hear a group of people that were Latino that were talking, right? And they were talking like the way you would sound if you've ever watched the movie Blood In, Blood Out, or what's that other one called? There's another movie. I think it's American Me. Where they have that like thickety thick accent, and the way they sound like cholo-ish, okay? Chicagoans are not cholo-ish, okay? And what y'all don't know what that means, let me explain. So we don't go around calling people ruca or rica, or we don't call them like, you know, like, what's some other, SA and stuff like that. We don't talk like that in Chicago. Chicago, we more like talk like bro, dog, what up, Holmes, you know, stuff like that. It's more like, I don't know, Midwestern-y talk, so we don't really kind of have that same dialect. Y'all watch my videos, you hear my accent, you probably know how I just be, spouting out stuff like dude, bro, stuff like that. That's basically how we talk in Chicago, so we don't have that talking point where we're like canal and all that stuff. That's more like, a Cali thing, I want to say. I don't know. I'm not sure about the Bronx in New York, but I know they also have their own dialect. If you watch that one movie that I was talking about, you'll understand. But most of those people, when I was hearing that, I was like, yo, they're not from here, because nobody that I know talks like that was from the hood. So that kind of just solidified my thought, like, yeah, most of these people are just coming from different areas of the United States to come and protest, which is why they don't care if the local residences get sleep. And this is what's happening in Portland. In Portland, you've had people come out of the buildings and say, hey, we're trying to go to sleep. Can y'all move it along? You guys have been out here every day till like 3, 4 in the morning, and we need to go to work. And the protesters don't care. And I'm using the word protest lightly because, these are Antifa. They don't care. They're like, well, either you're with us or you're against us. And they're just going to keep blowing off fireworks, making noise, because they don't really care. Because it's not about that. It's about causing chaos, because that's what they want to do. Because they're all LARPing. And, from my last video that you saw too, where the guy got caught up from LARPing and ended up in lockup, that boy was trembling. And that's how all of them are going to be when they get caught up. And what's even funnier is because they're going to get federal charges. And guess what? They're going to lose their rights. They're going to lose their right to vote. They're going to lose their right to carry. So good on them for faffling, right? But that's all I have for you guys for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Till next time, guys. Bye.